Hello, everybody. It's Friday night, and it is time for the Weekender once again. Spring has sprung, summer is here, and it's time to get ready for a Summer of Plunder with Blood and Pigment and all the Firelock Games, piratical games out there now. We'll be looking at that in depth in the show. On top of that, Ben plays God with dinosaurs, and Justin is stupefied by survivors. As well as that, we also have a prize from Wayland Games, a £50 store voucher for one lucky commenter below this video here on YouTube. So all you have to do, pop a comment below. Now sit back, relax, because your summer starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Ben and Justin.
Hello.
There you go. Not even prompted this time. We're getting there, inch by torturous inch. Give us another 15 to 20 years and we'll be slick.
Yes.
Like Pavlov's dog.
Yeah.
All about that.
I'm salivating now.
Yeah. That was after his failed Pavlov's cats experiment. We rang a bell and they all ran off. Stared at him with contempt, pushed stuff off the desk. Wasn't that successful. Then, of course, there was the time where there was the dog's Pavlov, where they rang a bell and he ate some delicious dessert made of meringue.
There you go.
So it's all circular. Anyway, it is Friday, which means tomorrow's Saturday, which is the last day of the Spring Clean Challenge.
It is.
If you've left it till now, congratulations. You are 90% of my classes in school. So be lucky, be quick. You have until the clock strikes midnight on the 21st of June, wherever that is in the world. We'll not do it here, because then the Americans will complain that they've lost 8 to 9 hours, depending on where they are in the country. So yes, once we hit the 22nd, in the last place on Earth, that's when the big button gets slammed. And we start tallying up the votes. Yep. And deciding who's the winner, which Moonstone project wins. Actually, I haven't seen many Moonstone projects in there.
It's because everybody paints their Moonstone as soon as they get it, so they don't leave it. So
everybody but me.
Well, that's true. Yes. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. If somebody did it for the Spring Clean one year, didn't finish it, did it for a Spring Clean the next year, it could be a multi award-winning project.
Yes, could be.
Springception. Yeah.
Springception. I'll be all for that. 100%. Yeah. Couldn't keep me away.
Never-ending project that never, ever actually gets finished.
There was a really nice Terrain Fest project that didn't quite get finished in time. Moonstone Terrain. Remember he'd done the old modular village, the steps and pillars. It was very Bon Jovi. Lovely. Wet cover. It was good. Anyway, so yes, if you've been involved in Spring Clean, well done you. I think we all fell flat on our face. I'd moved a lot of stuff around.
So. My stuff made it home from the office with paint. Just the paint never got out the bottle.
No.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
At least the community have carried us through. So.
Yes.
God bless you, community, and all who sail in you. Yeah. So, we'll look forward to seeing what comes out of that.
We will.
It will be. There's holidays coming up. There's people visiting the studio. There's a lot of people visiting. We've got a lot coming up. Oh, are we going to put a day on it, Ben, or are we just going to leave it hanging out there now? If we don't put a day on it, we'll keep pushing it back. Oh. That's the problem.
Okay.
It'll be nebulous. In the comments below, tell us the date you want the Spring Clean Challenge award winners. We'll ignore those.
Hang on, Jerry, your first mistake. You're giving it to the community. They're going to say tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next weekend.
Yeah.
You have 1 week, sir.
That's why I said it will be ignored. But they can still feel like they've involved. It's like democracy. You feel like you've got a chance with your vote. Your vote means nothing.
The illusion of control.
Yes. But yeah, we'll get cracked into those. We'll probably aim to do it. I'm gonna throw a sneaky start of August, end of July. So wherever the closest is, because I'm sure we overlap at some point. But despite holidays, it gives us about 4 or 5 weeks to get people together in between holidays and sit down and plow through them all.
You will get your stuff. You'll get your vouchers.
Yeah, more importantly, we'll get a chance to look at your projects. Smash the buttons.
Yeah.
Have a nosy. I'm all about having a nosy. But yeah, I think it's time to kick on with the show proper. We'll kick things off with the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
All right then, first things first. Bit of news coming out of Modiphius. I had a chat with Chris DeBell, as he insists on being called, at UKG. And he was very keen on Hardwar, or Hardwar rather. Hardwar is the Terminator of the 90s, which was released about 6 months before Terminator 2, which came straight out of it. It's a great film though, and has amazing voice acting by Iggy Pop as the DJ. And Lemmy plays a speedboat taxi driver in it, who for no reason at all goes, you ever listen to this band from the past? They were great, and then slams in Ace of Spades, because of course you would. Anyway, not Hardwar, Hardwar.
Hardwar. You got to say it in the start of the song. Hardwar.
What is it good
yes.
for?
Modiphius are going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon with their campaign for Hardwar. So this is a game and a range that has been around for a while anyway. But it was picked up by Modiphius, and as they have done in the past, they have sort of revamped, updated it, tweaked it, and done all sorts of little changes here and there to put it in line for a new suite of gamers to dive in and have some fun with it. As you can see, a lot of people involved with this. Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah,
Jack's been involved
familiar
in tweaking the rules. That's interesting.
So, for those people who aren't aware, Hardwar is a mech-based game in 6mm scale, where you'll be taking on the role of the likes of corporations, paramilitary contractors, revolutionary leaders, and everything else in between, as you will run battles with your mechs and tanks and flyers and all sorts of different things in a proper combined arms style affair on the tabletop. Miniatures-wise, you're going to be getting between 6 and 10 per side, which is very cool. And you'll be, one of the nice things about this is that you'll actually be able to dive into not just one-off games, but they've actually designed it so you can play through campaigns with Hardwar as you kind of like grow your sort of corporation or your revolutionary band who's looking to stick it to the man, or everything else in between. What we're actually looking through here is the free Quickplay rules that are available from Modiphius for you to download right now. It comes with kind of like a cut down but fairly in-depth look at the actual rules of the game. Obviously, a few little bits and pieces here and there will come out in the final core rulebook, which we'll talk about in a second. But this essentially will give you everything you need to know to start playing the game. So if you have got some miniatures lying around from, BattleTech or anything like that, or you've just, printed some off, or you've kit
full spectrum dominance,
all that kind of stuff, you can grab your mechs, get to the tabletop, and have some fun. There's a kind of like a sort of quick scenario for you to dive into and just play around with, alongside all of the rules for the various mechs and things that you'll be using in that initial game anyway. So it's got everything in there for you to just get started, essentially, with Hardwar and test it out.
Just need some D12 and off you pop, and everybody should have D12.
Everyone has the best dice. Dice.
Well, I mean, the art in this looks like you're all just fighting over some large corporate farm. So in the far-flung future,
yes,
the only thing to fight over is the corn.
Yes. Everybody needs to be fed.
Yes. Well, obviously, if you actually have some of the minis from Strato lying around from back in day when they made the game originally, then obviously you could use those to run this new version, this sort of tweaked version of the game now anyway, and sort of have some fun with it there. When it comes to the actual core rulebook for the game, they said it's going to have rules for you to run 9 different factions. There'll be options for you to design your own units as well, so you can sort of configure them in the way you like with different weapon loadouts. There will be campaign rules, as I was saying, full terrain rules, skills and flaws that your heroes can have in your games, so you can have some pretty badass sort of anime level main character syndrome going on, which is very cool. Lots of new stuff for flying units and a bit more in there as well. They've also said that as well as it being a versus game, you can also dive into solo and cooperative rules, which are some of the stuff that they actually added in with this update of Hardwar on the tabletop. The Kickstarter itself, we have actually had some previews of it. So what we're looking at here is a couple of the two factions that you'll be able to get initially for this. So you've got the Syndicate Task Force there, looking pretty badass. I love the Boris. I think
very Slavic.
Yes. Who would have thought from the names, eh? And then you have the Consortium Security Squadron, CSS, who are yellow and therefore possibly good.
Sure.
But probably bad.
Kind of GDI vibes.
Yeah.
Just the same way Caterpillar are good.
Yeah. The Longinus gives me Mammoth Tank vibes from Red Alert, which is always cool. I think I prefer the mech design of the Syndicate, but I like the color scheme and sort of like the tank design of the Consortium. But I'm sure you could mix and match and do whatever you liked, really.
I mean,
raid some mechs and take them for yourselves.
Mercenary companies are going to be a thing.
Yes, yeah. The other thing as well, you noted in the artwork that they were fighting over a frontier-style farm, and that is actually what they're going to be including as part of the terrain offering for the Kickstarter. So you'll be able to get your hands on this sci-fi set, as you can see there.
All those great historical battles, the Battle of Soybean Hill.
Soylent Green. Soylent Green Alley.
Most of the American Civil War was fought across farms.
That's very true.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
let's just hope that the farmers got out before the bombs started landing.
no.
Although it's probably just run by robots now.
That is the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, lads, we're changing out the farm tools for weaponry. What do you mean?
Yeah.
If
Great,
you've
just
not
arrived,
seen
mate. Let's go.
season 2 of Love, Death, Robots.
I was about to say, I was literally about to say there's an episode that is very in keeping with this.
Talk to Christabel about that. He was going, that was a big influence on possibly the solo play and the idea of,
I think,
cooperative.
There was a season 1 farm one as well, I think.
But yeah, lots of stuff coming down the pipeline for Hardwar. As I said, there is the availability to go over to the Kickstarter and sort of check out what they're doing at the moment. The campaign will be launching fairly soon, so keep an eye out for that. But you'll be able to get your hands on things like the new rulebook, which will also come with sort of all sorts of reworked and revamped stuff in there, alongside the miniatures, as you can see. They're all done by their 3D sculpting department at Modiphius, alongside the folks from Strato as well, who've sort of had an input in that as well. So it's all that really nice stuff that you would have expected from before, revamped and updated for the tabletop once
From
again.
the before times.
From the before times, when
Look at it
Mechs
this
were
way,
only
Jerry.
we.
Look at it this way, Jerry. We might actually have an excuse to make some hills in here.
We've had an excuse to make some hills in there since all the hills vanished.
Yeah, fair.
There's never been a reason not to have hills.
We must
It
have
offends
hills.
my sensibilities. I will say there is infantry in the game, but from what Christabel was saying, the core concepts and the idea is to get the mechs and the tanks, the fun things out first, the hard bots. So it's not hard bodies for hardware, it's hard bots for hard war.
Yeah,
It's important to remember these things.
I mean,
Tricky sometimes, but important.
Everybody likes getting a little heavy metal on the table.
Yeah, but the addition of infantry will come sort of after the initial waves of stompy stuff is out. And then when you need some squishy things to go and stick bombs to the side of stompy stuff, you can do that later on down the line. Although the infantry may be available already from
Strato.
Thank you.
There you go.
Because a lot of this stuff is being reworked because it was STLs originally. They're making it so they can cast it in resin, so there will be tweaks and modifications. So it's not that the sculpts needed improvement, it's they needed to be changed for commercial multiple castings.
I am literally looking at the Strato website right now, and they do have infantry. So I'll put a link down below so you can have a look at that and see whether or not you're up for snapping up.
Get ahead of the game. I imagine the rules will be in the rulebook anyway. So it's all good in the hood.
Yeah.
Right. Enough of that sci-fi. Let's take things closer to modern day. Justin.
Yes.
Tell me all about the American election campaign box set.
Not quite. All right. So the folks at Wargames Atlantic have given us a new box of civilian/survivors for some pulp adventure goodness. So in the box, we are getting 24 figures, as Wargames Atlantic are wont to do. We get a massive amount of stuff in the box where you can have your civilians running for their lives, protesting, for their lives or rebelling for their lives.
There you go. Yeah.
So it comes with lots of different options. So a ridiculous amount of heads to actually, give everything a bit of individuality. All of your like standard open hand stuff's happening. Lots of different weapons, from cricket bats to baseball bats to iron bars to assault rifles to submachine guns to shotguns. There's a lot of stuff.
Machetes.
Oh yes, of course, machetes.
Machete kill.
Machete don't text.
Even some little pistoleros if you want to go down that route. It comes as a 2-sprue kit. So one of the sprues is going to have all your bodies, good dose of your arms, some of your melee weapons. The other one is purely for your ranged weaponry. So you're going to get a lot of individuality out of this, a lot of miniatures out of this. And yeah, I think there's a lot of games you could fold this into. I mean, I'm thinking Walking Dead for a start, because what I would love to do is homebrew some rules where there are NPC living people who are interfering with your attempts to steal the last can of baked beans that's still good.
Yeah. I will say they have been done in a style that is very reminiscent of the proportions of the Walking Dead stuff. So it should match up quite nicely, which I think is good.
It'll also match up with the zombie box from Pulp Adventure.
Yes, it's
so
the direct equivalent, effectively.
Yeah.
So you could have some wombies protesting.
You could.
Undead, yes. Unliving, no.
Yeah. As we know by the end of Shaun of the Dead, they did get put to work, so they should have rights. So,
yes, they really should.
I liked the guys. You've got like individual like banner hands in there.
Yeah, well, holding 2x4s
stuff on, which I think is quite cool. So you can have the little your little signage of whatever you prefer.
Now, I don't know if you've seen the picture of a protest a few years ago in America, where it was taken from the back of the crowd and somebody was holding up a sign, but what it was taped to was a baseball bat. So from the front, he was holding up a protest sign, but from the back, it's a bat. And the idea of not doing that, considering there is a baseball bat being dual wielded like that or double handed, is, I mean, the styroom will be coming out immediately for that.
If you ignore my sign, I'll beat it into you. That's their,
it's
their intention.
I'm there to protest peacefully, but I will defend myself aggressively if things kick off.
Multifunction.
Ton of fun.
Yeah.
Ton of fun with the heads as well. I think there was 56 or so, I think I counted.
An insane amount of heads.
Not as many as the Wombies, but the Wombies had a set of heads for various time periods. Yeah. So whereas these are all modern. And this is the first of a series of moderns that we're going to be getting. Obviously, there'll be the
soccer moms.
The soccer mom set.
The female set, because this is the male set.
But there's also a modern operator, and I think there's an FBI style Men in Black, suited and weaponed group. So you've got your secret place or what have you. But I'm keen to see where this goes.
One thing I was thinking you could do is mix the two kits together a little bit. So you've got a crowd of people who have just been bitten and haven't turned yet.
Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah.
Ripped arms, all that sort of thing. The other thing is Deathfields, which is their sci-fi skirmish game. Andy has just started playtesting that, which is going to be a 28mm sci-fi skirmish game. I don't know if they're going to be baking in a core set of rules. That means that they could easily shuffle it between the various ranges. So you could have your Deathfields for sci-fi, or you can play this, or if they'll run this as a whole separate rule system.
Maybe.
But there is the plan for their moderns-esque game. I can't remember the name of it now. It was something cheeky Hudson had done. It was good though. I like it. Well done.
It came out on April the 1st, so nobody really trusts whether or not it's true or not.
Well, once again, it's another April Fool's Day joke where people went, "It's not funny. We actually want those. You better be making those, Hudson." And they're going, "Oh, okay then."
Crap.
And then the Barons War range was born.
Yep. Yeah. It's how these things
get. The best kind of April Fool's joke because the joke's on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Sticking with fantasy of a type, Ben.
Yes, but with less machine guns. Although there are still guns, I suppose. But yeah.
Every time I'm on shift in the store, I have people asking me about this.
Oh, there you go. Well, the pre-orders for Grand Cathay are up this weekend from Games Workshop for Warhammer: The Old World. So this is the first of their entirely new armies for Warhammer the Old World, their rank and flank revisitation of Old World on the battlefield. As you might imagine, it's following the kind of same structure as they've had for previous releases of a faction, or a re-release of a faction, I suppose, for Warhammer. In this case, it's all starting out with the battalion box, as you can see there. So comes with all brand new plastic stuff. I should say everything we're looking at in this particular article is plastic. None of it is done in the Forge World resin, so bear that in mind. So this set comes with 30 of the Jade Warriors, which are your sort of core infantry that you can see at the bottom there of the photo, and also over to the left as well. They can be armed with hand weapons and shields or halberds, and you get enough stuff in that set for you to either build it you essentially get enough command elements for you to build it as 3 separate units of 10 if you want to. Because one of the things with Warhammer the Old World is that you don't necessarily have to have those big blocks of infantry that you would have had in 8th edition.
Why not?
Kind of thing, so.
Why would
I'd like to introduce you to my friend +3 rank bonus and +1 outnumbering.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, so you can arm them in different ways. You get a whole bunch of different options in the kit as well. Absolutely gorgeous plastic kits. Really nicely detailed.
I wonder how close these are to the video game.
What was that? Sorry?
I wonder how close these are to the video game models.
I think they're probably quite close. I would imagine they've done quite a lot of work with Creative Assembly to make sure that they sort of mirror up very nicely. So people who are coming over from the video game have a nice sort of matching set of stuff. You also get the 10 Jade Lancers at the back, who are your cavalry options. That once again can be armed with a variety of weapons. So you can go with hand weapons, or you can go with the spears, the lances there, as you can see, alongside their shields and their heavily armored horses. And you obviously get the command options there too. And then it is capped off by 2 of the Cathay Grand Cannons, which can also be built as the rocket firing variant, as you can see there. They come with the 4 crewmen that you can use to sort of like man it, obviously. But then you also get the ogres as the artillerists there, which are actually an upgrade to the cannons that give them a little bit of an extra oomph once per game. So be able to get those and add them into the mix. And it's nice to see a little bit of variance in there, that you not only get the humans in that sort of set, but you also get the ogres working there as the mercenaries, as they are quite close to the lands of Grand Cathay. So it makes sense that they would be going east as well as west to fight in the Empire.
Where you get all the curly-toed sandals from.
Exactly. There you go.
That might actually be an artillery crew that survives being charged for once.
Because the ogre will turn around and bosh whoever runs at them. Yeah.
At least one person will survive.
Will it be able to stop the gutter runners from absolutely nailing the artillery crew? That is the constant story that is told. Backing them up, obviously you're going to need some heroes to use with that box set, because it doesn't come with any characters. And so one of them is the Shigenjin Lord on the Great Spirit Longbar, as you can see there. There are a couple of different options again in this kit. So you'll get a couple of head variants for the Longmar alongside head options for the Shigenjin Lord, as well as weapon options as well for the left and right arm. So if you wanted to pick up a couple of these, you could obviously go down that route and sort of play around with that and have maybe a couple of these guys leading your army in various forms on different wings of it, perhaps. Wings. Really nice model design. Again, drawing from sort of like, Chinese mythology and that kind of stuff as well to sort of build up this faction, borrowing, as Games Workshop tend to do.
Inspired by.
Inspired by, yes. But really nice. Looks very much like Lubu in Warhammer, which I like. So I'm on board with that.
Legs look like they come from the Muti Raiders from Gorka Morka. Remember their cavalry?
Yes, they do. That's a good nod. If you're looking for slightly more grizzled veterans, rank and file officers that would fight alongside everybody else rather than flying around, observing the battlefield and maybe getting stuck in with the glorious moments, you also have the Gate Masters of the Celestial Cities.
Sure.
So these are warriors that have been raised up from the ranks, and you get options here for you to build foot and mounted version of the characters in the set. So you get 2 options within the one box. And you can obviously make one of them your battle standard bearer. Every army in Warhammer the Old World needs a battle standard bearer.
Yes, they do.
Good to draw the eye and keep the morale high, of course.
+2 combat res.
So you'll be able to drop those in. And once again, they come with different options as well. So you'll be able to change up what their armor.
But that's just the Cathay version of the Empire box.
It is.
And I think the Empire were the only one who actually got.
I think they were the only one who got a box set that was a battle standard bearer plastic set.
Yeah.
Yes.
A dual kit mounted foot.
before they
to make your electric count.
They forgot about Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Yeah. Then they went, why are we bothering?
Yeah. Oh, well.
We can make more money selling Terminators to people who already own Terminators.
You also have some tech that is watching over the battlefields.
This is my favorite.
Good luck transporting that anywhere.
I hope you like magnets. So leading the way, we have the Sky Lantern. So these are massive craft, again, sort of taken from the Total War video game, well, PC game, that sort of act as sort of guides for the troops on the ground, but also strategists and that kind of stuff, and also can lay down some fire at the same time. You can have it manned by either a magistrate or a strategist, as well as also be able to create a foot version of the one you don't put in the Sky Lantern. So you can have one of those on the floor, which is pretty cool. It can be armed with iron hail guns, dragon fire bombs, and long barrel crane guns. So it's essentially going to be a big floating fortress watching the battlefield and taking pot shots at the things that you don't like very much. So yes, very nice. And not held up by hot air. Instead held up by a magical bird, because of course.
Sure.
Somewhere
magical
in the middle
bird.
of the... Yeah, there you go. Makes
you wonder why they bother with the giant bag on the top then, if the magical bird can carry them.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess it fills it with magical hot air. I'm sure there's some proper lore for this.
It looks like one good flaming arrow might be a bad day for it.
Yeah. Hindenburg Part 2. We also have some foot support. I say foot support, it's fairly massive. These are the Cathayan Sentinels. So they were designed by the leaders of Grand Cathay in years gone by as sentinels to defend the city against demonic incursion, and now they have been awoken once more to do battle once more on the battlefields of the East. You get options in this to make it in 2 different poses. It also has 2 different head options, 2 neck options, so you can have it twisted in different ways, and there are 4 blade options, so you can customize its weapon. And I've seen people paint it up in the slightly more terracotta style, as you can see there. Or you could obviously go down the route of painting it in jade, which is another one of the big main things that you see amongst the Cathayan armies, and have that.
Really nice paint job on that.
It's lovely. It's really nice. Yeah.
You know, all the scroll work on the terracotta.
I think a lot of people are going to be picking up quite a lot of these, not just to use in Warhammer. I think they're going to be finding their way into all sorts of different armies over the next few months. Of course, with the release of models, you also need rules. And you're going to get a new arcane journal for the armies of Grand Cathay. So different from previous arcane journals, this will contain every single one of the rules for running Grand Cathay, because the other armies had most of their rules in the big books, and then they had additional supplementary stuff included in their arcane journals. This will contain everything you need to play Grand Cathay. So you'll have all of the stuff in there for running the Storm Dragon's Faithful, as they say. So that's going to be another model coming down the pipeline very soon. Plus all of your unit profiles, magic items, and spell laws as well for running Grand Cathay on the tabletop. And if you really, really, really like Grand Cathay, you can spend some extra money and you can buy the dice and reference cards, which shouldn't be out of date as soon as
day one patch.
Yeah. So you better get your reference cards and your dice, which look nice, simple, and effective. I really like them. Jade color's very cool. I like the dragon design. All very nice. So
have they put 2 different symbols on? They have.
Oh, joy.
So one of these is a 1, one of these is a 6.
Yeah.
You can decide roll to roll.
Yeah. Maybe they've put in like artillery dice.
That could be. Would they have put artillery? No.
Yeah, because that looks like a 3rd type.
Yeah, like an arrow and a 2. Yeah, for the distance of artillery, perhaps. I'm sure someone can open up one of the old dice sets that they've released in the past year or so. And let us know, if you manage to buy one. And then last but not least, we also have the matched play guide, which is for everybody who's taking part in the
Everyone gets a matched play.
Comes with new unique scenarios alongside additional rules for adding secondary objectives to your games, as well as the sort of core ones you'd find. There's also guidelines for running match play events. So these are your proper big 2,000, 3,000 point battles that you play at the stores or at Warhammer World and that kind of thing. And a whole bunch of other bits and pieces in there as well. Seems like the old world is finally gathering a bit of steam within the Warhammer ecosphere.
Or magical hot air, at least.
Well, that's very true. But hopefully, if nothing else, if this goes well and it sells well, it means that Games Workshop will actually release the Kislevite stuff that they teased all those years ago. We shall have to wait and see.
Wow.
One thing I really want to see is some good Cathay terrain.
Yes, it would be nice to see some thematic stuff for like the big gates.
Hills.
And hills. Big hills with fun trees on them. Walls and that kind of stuff, because one of the big focuses of Grand Cathay is the fact that they're defending their cities against incursions, so having that kind of stuff would be really fun, actually.
Massive wall,
yes, that they've
just
made.
a huge wall,
a huge wall that stretches across the entire of their empire.
I'm sure some of the old hands out there will be going, well, scratch build, my time to shine.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a way to do it.
Clearly defended by Jason Bourne, because that was a good movie.
Yeah. Class. Jason Bourne and the Mummy Emperor.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Get in there. Do the do. Right. Okay. That's enough news for now. We'll let you digest that. And then take a look at the Indie of the Week. We're going a bit fantastical for our Indie of the Week. This week we're going to be checking out a Scandinavian Irrbloss, which is almost entirely not how that's pronounced. I look forward to finding out exactly how it's pronounced soon.
Everybody shouts at Jerry.
You could say that you're going to duck the pronunciation of those. You wait till you get this joke.
Yeah, that was a quacking good one.
So, out of Karlstad in Sweden comes Irrbloss, which is a range of fantasy miniatures, mostly made for or inspired by Dragonbane to the English-speaking world, which has been going for years and obviously has had a resurgence via the medium of Free League. But there's some other bits and pieces in here as well. It's all one man's vision, the delightful Joel. I am planning on speaking to him very soon. So if you're enjoying this and want to ask questions about any of this or what he's up to or how he's done stuff, feel free to stick them below. Because like I say, I plan on having a chat with him. But there are three ranges. There's the fantasy, which is the sort of Drakkar stuff. And then there's old schooly fantasy and then just assembled oddities and bits and bobs. Obviously, ducks are big. Anybody who's been anywhere near RuneQuest will know that the ducks are one of the most delightful parts of it. And obviously, when it hit Sweden, everybody loved the ducks. And these are all his own sculptings as well. So possibly some of the other fantasy stuff in here, when we get back a bit, are more traditionally sculpted. But these days, he does his work digitally. If you need a pirate mallard for whatever reason, you too can get one here.
I want to make Firelock Games players cry.
I mean,
it's historical in some way. So.
We may be looking at some Firelock stuff later on, so sure, why not? But they are absolutely gorgeous figures.
And lovely. Yeah.
And because of the way there are so many games out there that they could fit into, obviously, if people want to play RPGs incorrectly, then that is one way of doing it. But if you want to play a slightly different faction for your burrows and or badgers, then these are nailed on. Oh, they have fingers. I know that will send Ben up the wall.
No.
He looks like he stepped straight out of Hamilton.
He does, yeah.
He
does
really
the matinee.
Nice. Yeah. But they're a nice, different style of piratical ducky.
I like with the previous dude, I like how the glasses have been done, where they are sunken in.
Reset, yeah.
You have so many people who do the glasses, and it's just a flat thing, and you can just see the eyes almost like bulging out, cartoon style, whereas that gives you the impression.
That must be a bastard to cast.
Yes, I would imagine.
Well, depending on... It looks like it's a flat cast at that part, so it might not be too bad.
Oh, no, that'll still be terrible.
Okay.
Because the beak protrudes and the eyes go in. So when you're peeling out, the possibility of ripping the mold or getting a big miscast across
Although the character does look like he's just turning up to the captain to talk about just how bad the plunder has been this season and that the men are about to revolt.
Yep, could be that.
He's got all those complaints in that book. Yeah.
I'm trying to see where the split line is for that. It must be on the sides. Anyway, I'm not going to get into mold makings.
And are they all cast metal?
Pardon?
Are they all metal cast?
Oh, yes. Oh, good. No pissing around here. Lovely, sweet metals.
Mm-hmm. Yummy and tasty.
And wobblies from the looks of it, yeah. So,
yeah. Look at him with his squeeze box and his big mutton chops. Big feathery mutton chops, like any proper pirate would have. Yeah. I mean, they are just absolutely great. I love the fact they're also named as well. There are some puns kicking in there, but if you spot some, let us know below.
It's akin to the old rogue trader naming where
everybody gets a name.
Title. Yeah.
Every man's a character. Every duck's a legend. They're all in there. So, moving on, we have pig-faced orcs. I know somebody was complaining bitterly recently that why do we not see any porcine-faced orcs like we used to in the old days? Well, here you go, folks. There's a whole slew of pig-faced orcs.
Voucher Games do a load of them as well, actually. And other
leader down.
So, yeah.
And I mean,
they're lovely.
A nice piggy orc is the way to go.
Yeah. They give me sort of classic, sort of like Milton Bradley era Warhammer adjacent board game feel kind of
they're
thing.
They're straight up Hero Quest.
Yes.
Let's just admit
it. They're one step away from a Gamorrean guard. Pig-faced orcs. True. I was quite pleased that that young up and coming fellow George Lucas decided to go with the pig-faced orc look for his space fantasy.
Yeah.
Because they're the best way.
I love Skullhead. He's great.
I don't know if these are goblins or hobgobs, but they have a design all of their own, and they are absolutely spanking
Slag
gorgeous.
Off the slasher.
The nice thing about these is
he's so good. I love him.
Yeah, the shaman in particular.
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot.
He's got a duck skull. Oh no!
Yeah, I mean, who are their natural enemies of the goblin? But the mallards.
Staying on theme.
Yeah.
Yep. And I just love the idea of playing these in Frosty Grave or Ghost Archipelago. Yeah. And just having your warbands being these crazy people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm getting real
really nice set of them.
Late 80s, early 90s kids cartoon vibes off this.
Yes, you could easily see those being on the TV.
If DuckTales met gummy bears.
Yeah.
Gummy ducks quacking here and there and everywhere. More medieval styly. And these are more, I was going to say, truer to Drac than Monarch, although obviously the pirates work for different areas.
Yeah.
But then having your little duck paladin.
Pirates would be good for the new expansion, the new supplement that's on Kickstarter. So
would be
Arcans, whatever it was. I like the fact that because you've got the two, you've essentially got two full warbands almost built as part of this set. You've got all the ducks as the heroes, and you've got all the goblins, orcs,
and all the orcs. Yeah,
you could just grab any game and just start playing, having some fun with it. It'd be really good.
I mean, because these are based on Dragonbane.
Yeah,
I'll stop butchering the Swedish. It means they are classical archetypes, classes, whatever you want to call them, professions in modern day Dragonbane. So you've got your rogue, you've got your wizard,
warriors,
possibly a good wizard with necromancy, bringing dead people's back. But yeah, they obviously follow a distinctive look, which means for skirmish games, because everybody's a little character.
Mm-hmm.
That is one pissed off duck.
I wonder why no one ever did a spin-off of Howard the Duck in his world, but make it historical. Ta-da!
Just you wait. Yeah.
There probably is there, because Howard the Duck's a comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've never read the comics.
Maybe that's something for a What If series in the future.
What if all the Avengers were ducks?
Yeah, they've done weirder stuff. So.
Yeah. That conquistador looking fella.
Betty Bolter
with a crossbow.
Yeah.
You'll get it up, you lad.
Badang.
These are so cool.
They are quacking good.
Ooh.
Oh, you say, as in surprise and alarm. The Wolfen style
That's nice.
characters and the elves.
Horse-headed knight.
He's unfortunately cursed. The undead, I think, are gorgeous as well.
Mm-hmm.
He
Bernhard
will
the
be
Broken.
having nay of that.
So yes,
Oh, God, that was bad.
the fantasy range are
Goran the Guard is so cool.
Fantasy range is really well put together. Really nice.
There was a skeleton warrior further
There
up
was.
as well that looked really
Do you want
badass.
There were a
You
couple
could-
of skeletons because there's
that would
a
be-
necromancer type.
That last one would be perfect as living armor.
Bush,
Get like 10 of them.
and I'm going to
Burn
guess you were
attacker.
saying this one's the badass
Yeah.
one.
Bernhard the Broken. He's cool.
Bernard. What are you doing
Bernard.
in here?
These are really
sir.
nice.
I just woke up here.
Are you
Yeah.
ready, Doc? What lies beneath the hood? Nobody knows. Is it just more hoods? Yes.
He lost his skull last week.
So yes, if you're looking for a range of miniatures for your RPGs, they obviously are great for that. But for any sort of dungeon crawl or skirmish game, there's a lot of fun in there as well.
What I was thinking, because
Yes.
a lot of those, obviously they're based on the aesthetic of Dragonbane,
Mm.
they imagine painting them up in the style of art of Johan Egerkrans.
Oh,
so
man.
using that kind of sort of
pastel
style.
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
can't
really
imagine
fun.
that because I'll never do it, but I'll definitely imagine it. His classic fantasy has got some really nice bits and pieces in here. More traditional, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
Brutal Bronk.
Yeah. I'm not sure. They may be orcs, maybe trolls of some description, depending on how you want to do it.
Old
Yeah.
river troll.
What do you want me to do?
Look at his bum. And these have a feeling, because you can see from the casts there, they look like his traditional original sculpts, where you've got the putty and stuff. And
Yeah, I think you can
you-
see in the third design a little bit more and stuff.
they
as well.
have a lot more of a rough and ready feel to them,
Yeah.
being the older range, which I really enjoy because I'm like
seeing the
that.
fingerprints in the plasticine of Wallace
Yeah,
and Gromit.
yeah.
So
I like
yeah.
Moody Mo.
It's all good in the hood. There's a Knightly Kent. It's the first time Kent's been called Knightly.
You just got to make sure you say his name properly.
Yes. Do you want to be? There's Justin as a wizard.
Oh no! Oh come on!
You're always there.
Why?
Because you're very
at
easy
least
to
you're called
sculpt.
Diamond Head. So.
Diamond Head. Well, you know why that is, though, don't you? If that little skull
Shiny
cap he's
bombs?
wearing is silver, then he's Merlin from Excalibur, isn't he?
There we go. Yeah.
Sometimes I
Just a-
feel whenever I was doing character creation, I just went baseline model, didn't make any changes.
Well, you see, like you and Jerry are in essentially every model kit that has ever been made. You you will turn up eventually at some point. So
Yeah, the old school fantasy range has got some interesting things, including a musket. It's quite merry. Not the person on the receiving end of it, mind
I was
you.
going to say, the other person is screaming, "This seems unfair."
Oh, you poor medieval fool, bringing a sword and board to a musket fight.
Pistol
yeah.
arrow.
Yeah.
If I get to the
But wait, there's more.
yes, yeah. So, like I say, this is, I believe, the original fantasy range. So, slightly different aesthetic.
The body proportions are so different.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. People
They
move on. Time progresses.
They remind me a little bit of when Michael from
Harry Met
Oathsworn
Sally.
was sculpting his initial range because he did dungeon dames, was it, or something like that? Or basically he did a range of dungeon delving female miniatures, and they were sort of in this style. And then obviously he moved over to doing a lot more, basically just only doing Bros and Badgers because that has taken up every single moment of his time. But
Yes.
it kind of reminds me of that sort of like that jump from sort of like initial stuff through to kind of like where things are now. So.
These are kind of cool because they're almost like that Fable-esque
Yes,
body proportion
yeah.
style.
Mhm.
I quite like this.
Yeah.
I
Again,
really
I'd love
like
to see them painted up. It would be really
Yes.
cool. So.
And then there is the
Story
Just-
ball.
just the range of things, and
Just
again,
oddities.
Today I was bored.
Oddities indeed, but for people playing, because there's been a lot of that stuff that Anna's been doing for weird and wacky games, and then adding something like these into it. I don't know what they are, pot-headed Yeti.
Nobody should question the Navajodas.
Yeah, because if you do it, you're going to get slapped upside the head.
This bone belonged to the last child that annoyed me.
Crazy old witch.
Yeah, just
throwing cats.
Need some cat on the base. Some form of child catcher.
Yeah. I don't think he's got like a wooden nose, actually.
Could be a wooden nose. He's got a gun, so he's bringing those kids in dead rather than alive.
I mean,
it's easier that way, as we learned from Samuel L. Jackson.
Making stew
in The Hateful Eight. If it says dead or alive, why should I make my job harder? And then I like the constables as well.
Yeah.
They have a very Trumpton-esque whimsical feel. They're almost like Nutcracker type puppets because of the proportions on them. See them stomping through town. But yeah, it's a fascinating little set of fantasy figures.
And very, very indie. In the
100%
sense of the word. So,
and this fellow all by himself.
That's so cool.
But screaming
really a time
Mutant
traveler.
Year Zero.
Oh, yes.
And because obviously Free League have done a lot of Mutant Year Zero stuff, including the game, we've seen some of the weird and wacky creatures you could have armed with drum mag combat shotguns. So I'm hoping there's some more of these, because I have the Mutant Year Zero plastics. They're lovely for whatever the game's called.
Zone Wars.
Thank you. I'm thinking my boxes are in next door, and I know the shape, I know the color, blue and orange. I can even think of the factions and the color of the miniatures in the factions. Damned if I can remember the name. Anyway, I hope there's another set of these.
Yeah, well, somebody has clearly played a game of duck about and find out.
Desperately so, yes.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of him wearing the way the hunters have their orange jackets and stuff whenever they go duck hunting. Yeah. Just dress him up like a hunter. Except obviously he's now tracking down some of those Wargames Atlantic human survivors.
So he makes the sound of a duck to lure the hunters towards him, and then he guns them down.
Yeah.
He just needs a laughing dog companion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. There are dogs, deers, platypi, whatever, there's a whole Mutant Year Zero world of mad animal things armed with guns.
Yeah, but I just want the old hound with the old Nintendo blaster.
Did you know in the 2-player game, player 2 could play the ducks?
Yes, I did. I only discovered that when I was 25.
Wow, I didn't know that. Huh.
Anyway, they didn't get the shoot back. They just had to try and avoid being shot. But if you do fancy grabbing some stuff, if you are playing Dragon Bane incorrectly with miniatures, or if you just fancy some weird and wacky fantasy
new painting project,
the fact that they are all more or less sort of 68 figure warbands in there already, and you can just go, I'll just have the pirate ducks, please, or I'll have the medieval ducks, please, or I'll have the pig-faced orcs. All of those are there, ready and waiting for you to find a reason to play with them. I'm sure there's plenty out there. I know I've got enough rule sets I've started picking up so I can play with my random stuff, and someday I will pick one. It's something.
For sure.
Someday. Like I say, I will be speaking to Joel soon, so I will be asking him vis-a-vis the Mutant Year Zero Daki, will he be getting friends? But if there's anything else you want to ask the man, what's it like living in Sweden? Is it a magical place? It's not. Alcohol's very expensive. But, things like Pompaloo. You've got a week, maybe. I don't know when I'm speaking to. It'll be soon though. Right. Irrbloss miniatures. Let's move away from Scandinavia and back to the news.
Even more news, bitches.
All right then, more news. We're going to kick things off with, well, we referenced it last week. We did say that by the time you watch this, the pre-orders would be up. And then somebody started to comment going, I think you'll find these pre-orders are up already. And they're these. No, hang on. You just said that you were filming this before the pre-orders. It doesn't sense.
Yeah. Watch the show.
Timey-wimey stuff.
But yes, Pre-orders are now live for Pillage, which is the new English set of rules for the Noodle Wargames set of rules, which are available in French and were sort of reworked and updated by their partnership with Victrix. So if you liked what we talked about last week when it comes to Pillage, you can now go over and get your hands on all of the good stuff. So there is, of course, the new core rulebook, as you can see there, which looks lovely and fancy. If you are interested in checking out a little bit more about it, I know Seventh Son has done a very good overview review of it, so you can go check that out, as well as a few other people online. Go and have a look at that yourself if you want to learn a little bit more about the game and what it's all about. But essentially, it contains all of your rules, as we talked about last week, for playing out your pillaging-style skirmish scenarios on the tabletop, using a variety of different factions from the Viking Age, spans from the raid on Lindisfarne all the way through to 1066 and the Battle of Hastings, although I imagine you could probably throw in a little bit of Saxon rebellion if you wanted after the fact, as Norman, as William the Conqueror of the Normans, or William the Bastard, as I like to call him, was looking to subdue the populace. So get your hair with the wake out and start hunting people down in swamps. Yes. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think you'll find Lindisfarne was actually a rescue band. That fire was totally unexplained.
Yeah, they liberated the loot from the inside.
They rescued.
Okay, yeah.
They were very nice people.
So alongside the core rulebook, there's also a series of 4 starter warbands. Now, we did speculate on what these were going to be last week, but we now have them listed out. One of them was a bit of a surprise, but we have the Vikings, as you can see there, and it comes with your command figures alongside all of your armored and unarmored variants for your Vikings, alongside your berserkers. Gives you pretty much everything you need to be using for a starter warband in the game. Normal warbands sort of stretch between 15 and 30 models per side, depending on what you're playing. So this will give you pretty much everything you'd need for running the Vikings. If you wanted to go down the Saxon route, you have them as well, be they the Anglo-Danes or the Anglo-Saxons from later on down the line. You could play around with those and do what you want with them.
Who brings a monk?
You've got to have a monk for bashing people. Have you seen The Last Kingdom? He's great.
Got to show the
kicking out, taking names. Yeah.
God is on your side.
Exactly, yeah. And what's quite nice about this is that they've put in the unarmored cavalry elements in there, which are actually made up of the Norman stuff, but with Saxon heads. So it gives you some sort of variants there, and also some kit bashing customization options. If you do want to play as the Normans and you want to do some invading, or you just want to try and settle your kingdom over on the continent, then you've also got the Norman warband, which looks very nice. Again, comes with all your command figures, your armored and unarmored infantry, alongside your knights and your crossbowmen as well, because the crossbowmen are pretty key to any Norman force looking to subdue the Saxons, as I was mentioning earlier. And then last but not least, for the 4 warbands, we thought they might have gone down the route of the Scots or the Picts, but they've gone for the Russ, and that kind of makes sense, I suppose, from Victrix' point of view, because the Russ came out recently.
These ones are all existing bags, so not having to wait on tooling time or casting or anything else. These were all good to go.
Surprisingly, no command section detailed in this one.
But you could make it out of the forces that you get in the bag. So rather than it just being a detailed, specific, like this is the sprue that would give you this, they've kind of just sort of given you everything you would have got in the Russ bag.
These are the 4 that look fanciest.
Pretty much, yeah. So if you are looking to play as the Russ, who are different from the Vikings, for those people who are asking on social media, you've got the options there. Distinctly different style of armor and that kind of stuff, as opposed to the rest of the Vikings that you would have found from Norway and
baggier pants
and the rest of Scandinavia. Lots very baggier pants, yeah. And also, potentially an option for those people who want to go off a little bit further into the Middle East, perhaps, and sort of serve the Byzantines or fight against all sorts of different.
Fighting against them would be my preference.
Or fight against them as well, of course, yeah.
Well, who's paying?
Yeah, the Emperor eventually. But yes, interestingly, rules for the Russ will actually be available as part of a free supplement, which is available if you download over on the Pillage section of the Victrix website. So you can go over there and get your rules for playing as the Russ, the Magyars, and the Byzantines, if you want to go down that route, and play out your sort of Eastern battles, which is very cool. You also get your quick reference sheets, as Jerry was saying there, your FAQs, and also your supplements there down the bottom for sheep
and beehives.
And beehives, yes.
Very good.
Which are coming down the pipeline as detailed by Victrix, and we had a little bit of a look at that last week as well. We're looking at their cows and sheep and everything else between.
Can I ask one thing, though, of any companies? Anybody who's watching this, I demand quick reference sheets. Often, people may be aware that no game should ever be released without a quick reference sheet, as far as I'm concerned. Can I also ask that you make it printer-friendly? Because as nice as having the texture and everything else on the back goes, when you're having to drain an ink cartridge to put a slight grey or a textured like parchment on the back of it, it's a right pain in the hole.
I'm just saying, I made my own set of rules recently. I made printer-friendly versions, so if I can do it, you could do it.
But, at least we're getting them. And
download By My Sword from Because of Dragons at blogspot.com and have some. Anyway. But yes, if you are looking to
I know what idea of the week we're looking at when you're on holidays.
Hey! If you are looking to dive into Pillage, make sure to go and check out the core rules and the Star Warbands from over on Victrix's website. If you are somebody who was a fan of the original game and you want to start playing it in French, you can actually just go and download the rules and grab them and start playing without having to worry about waiting on rulebooks to arrive.
Go by the medium of noodle.
Exactly. So you can go and get that and play as you like. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next. I really want to play the game. I have watched the Seventh Son video and I thought it was very cool. And well,
of course you would, because it's so close to Lord of the Rings, mate.
Oh, God. It's
Lord of the Rings Dark Age.
Oh, God. Why would I not like this?
Why would you not like that? Oh. Exactly. I'm surprised you're not rubbing yourself right now.
You don't know what's happening below the table.
Like Princess Leia.
Hands up, boys, hands up.
I can only do the one. Sorry, Justin.
Oh no.
Ivavu.
Ranu.
But there we go. Obviously, we talked about Pillage last week as well. So if you want to have more of our thoughts on that, you can go and watch last week's episode.
If you haven't already, if you haven't, why have you not? I dare you.
Yeah.
Very dare you.
Give us more views.
Right. Sticking with history, something a little closer to modern times. There's a slew of re-releases and some new releases to go for the Pacific War, for Flames of War, coming out of Battlefront. A whole host of Japanese bits and pieces are coming. In fact, they were released this weekend, by all accounts. So, assuming everything's arrived from where it should have come from, you'll be able to get your hands on a slew of stuff. I think these are all the generic retail ones. There are some Battlefront-specific direct order things, if you want the filth teams. I can't remember what they're called, like Nikahoku or something. The ones who strap mines to the front of a stick and ran forward and smash things.
Those lovely gentlemen.
The standard issue for every Japanese force in Flames of War, because they were filth. Then you need to go direct to Battlefront for your filth. But if you're after just the core components of a Japanese force to fight in and around the Pacific, you can get them via the medium of anywhere that does Battlefront. So the Type 89 Chiro, sort of their standard medium tank for island hopping, is coming, along with the little recon tankettes, which is a little platoon of 94s, Type 94s, yes. They are cute little figures. I imagine these are just re-releases of the old resins.
Yes, I believe so.
So you may find that some of the components may have been upgraded to their resiny CO-cast style thing that they were using for tank commanders and some of the infantry, rather than them being metal. You never know your luck. These ones are particularly favorites of mine.
Those are odd.
The camis. Now, they are an amphibious tank. Can anybody spot the problem with it being an amphibious tank? Anyone?
The tracks?
Tanks are heavy.
The problem that tanks are heavy, and the best way to make something float is for it not to be heavy, and they did this by making the armor very thin.
But
they were used. They were used sort of, unfortunately, they were used after they'd really done all of their sort of island hopping attacking and were on the back foot. But,
right.
So the whole point of having an amphibious tank was kind of wasted by that stage, but they were used against things like the Marines at Guadalcanal and stuff like that. I think the Marines are due next week. So if you're looking to do that, these are good to go. However, you don't have to run them as amphibious. The pontoon sections, front and back, that turn it into a little mini boat were removable. And if you look at that cast, you can see the pontoon front. So you could potentially magnetize those or just leave them off altogether if you just want the camis for the tabletop without, because there are plenty of photos of them just driving around on land like regular tanks. They made like 200 of them. They're also responsible for the only amphibious tank on amphibious tank sea-based battle of World War II. I say amphibious tank. Technically, the LVTs were more like landing craft type of things.
Right there.
But an amphibious AFE on AFE, so you could do some bizarre, unique scenario where you and the Americans are bobbing along in the water, shooting at each other with your terrible weapons and your terrible floating armored vehicles. So
it's a really weird thing to see, because you can see where they've designed the tank and someone has went, we need this as a boat. Well, what do you mean we need this as a boat? Just make it a boat. Okay, how do I make it? It was
always designed to be, so it was specifically designed. It is, out of all of the amphibious tanks of World War II, this is the best.
It's the most boat-like.
Things like the Sherman, the DD Sherman was crap. It had a tendency to tip over or sink. It just couldn't cope with it. This was specifically made to do this thing. Unfortunately, they started the research too late and didn't really get it into production in a timely enough fashion that it was option for when they needed it. But, still out there. Different, fun, unique, like it.
I wonder if any survived today.
For Ben, there are zeros. From 0 to hero. So you can get your fighter bomber flight.
It's okay, though, because I don't like aerial
Pacific
combat
War.
in the Pacific.
It's too far away, very hot. Nobody cares. And then if you need to drop some artillery on some amphibious tanks coming up the field, you can lay your hands on some 105 howitzers for the
American stuff coming down the line.
And the M4. And like I say, I think the full run of that is all due next week. So
there's a lot of stuff coming out over the next few months.
So if you've picked up the Pacific book, or if you're thinking about getting the Pacific War and all its various ins and outs, then there's a lot to be done. Could have taken the mold line off that tree, or just angled it slightly around so we didn't see that. Okay. Well,
Jerry, these things are sent to try you.
Specifically that. Look at it. Jesus. Anyway. Right, don't want mold lines in your palm trees. Use some wire wool, people. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming. Like I say, there is more direct order only. I said not more. There's a couple of pieces for the Japanese, a couple of pieces for the Americans coming next week as well. They're direct only, but yeah, fairly comprehensive. It's just really a case of getting it back out there for people who missed it the first time round if they weren't playing or were too young.
Yep.
Just get to get to your World War II wargaming now. Let the world open up for you like a beautiful flower. And then drive a tank up a beach and have a zero crash into it. It's all fine. Yeah. It's all fine. It's good.
I did a quick Google. There are some of the cami that are still about today.
Yeah. There's loads.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you see one of those in the beach after the war, you're going to go, we're bringing that home. Why would we not?
Well, it reminds me of my absolute favorite picture from the war, where someone had just drove a tiny tankette onto the back of a Sherman, and that was their souvenir. Yeah.
Wow.
It's good. I mean,
that's how you do it.
Yeah.
I like the look of that. Can we fit it on the back of the tank? Yes.
Sod running away with a Luger. You want a full tankette.
It's a story as old as time itself.
Yeah. Turn that into a farming implement.
The loot.
Yeah.
Speaking of loot, there are some new bits and pieces coming from Firelock for Port Royal, and the Summer of Plunder has kicked off as well. Ooh. So if you want to be a bit of a pirate and loot all round you, then this is a great time to be getting into it. Starting with the Port Royal itself, which is the new skirmishy game from Firelock. This is all based around Port Royal post-earthquake. Think Mordheim with pirates, and you can jump right in and start exploiting the area, campaigning around the place and stealing everything you can lay your hands on. There's a host of various forces available. So they're releasing these sets for Port Royal as nation specific, but supplemental too. So you can already get plastics and metals and resin prints from Firelock. But each of these will contain a unique leader and a unique bit of plunder that can be used to mark specific objectives or loot on the table. So you can see here we've got this delightful little captain's table with his globe and his maps and a few doubloons around there. Rather a lot more doubloons probably in that case below there as well.
The hidden pay chests.
Yeah. So you've got all of the various factions that you would expect, things like the Dutch Capers, which I think are absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I really like the leaders they've added, because when you're playing a skirmish game, especially one with pirates, you want to be fancy.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be a bit...
Oh, fabulous, yes.
Up top and giving a Dixie to everybody.
I see. Here's the ones that have the right idea. Their loot is the salted pork.
Well, I mean, they won't be alone. I'm trying to remember which nation wiped out the dodo and friends. I think it might have been the Spanish, but they got to an island and discovered it was filled with...
Did you just go, are we the baddies, Ben?
And pigs. I was just like, oh, well, this place is amazing. Let's just eat all around us. Good times will never end. The Spanish for your bucaneros.
Yeah.
With their religious icon down the bottom. The Jamaica pirates,
I think
who are absolutely loving life.
Yeah.
Earthquake, you saved. Never had more fun. Woo!
All right, here is a super tiny detail that I absolutely adore. On that leader, he's missing one of his front teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tiniest little detail, that it's stuff like that just jumps out and goes, yes.
Because they are resin printed. It means that they have the capability of doing that without having to worry about mold manufacture. So
I'm going to say it now. This faction, dibs.
Oh, I like them. Oh.
Do you? I really like the Maroons.
They are nice.
They're interesting.
Simply because how often do you say / hear about the Maroons?
Very well, very true.
Yeah.
I don't think the only time I really knew about them was when I was looking at stuff for Firelock's Blood and Plunder and stuff. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was Bugs Bunny that introduced me to it. I think it was. Because the phrase "you maroon" or would get used in old Tex Avery cartoons and stuff. Okay. And it used to really confuse me because it doesn't come from being marooned might have the same root word.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it means like wild or living wild or untamed. So if you're marooned on a desert island, it's because there's no civilization there. These were a mix of free Africans and slaves and stuff who revolted or ran off after and then also natives as well. So even though these are all obviously of African descent, you could mix in possibly some of the Caribs or some of the other native boxes, because they do a plastic native set as well, because they had all of, it was an ethnically diverse collection of people who formed the Maroons. So natives, Africans and Europeans could all be part of this faction. So this one is a really fun one to explore both the history behind the Maroons and also the painting possibilities then. So you're not just doing everybody in barbarian flesh.
Yeah,
or whatever happens to be.
Lots of stolen uniforms, so it's a mix and match of stuff stolen from the Spanish, the French, the English.
Because Spanish owned the island originally, and then the English came and took it, and so you've got slaves who belonged to the Spanish fleeing into the hills and setting up colonies because they didn't want to get involved with any of the terrible English people who had arrived. Speaking of natives, the Caribs, including that. I mean, that little idol type thing is utterly bizarre and gorgeous, and I'm assuming it's taken, because with the historical accuracy Firelock go into, I'm assuming it's taken directly from an artifact. But it's nice that they've gone with that for their objective token, essentially, because it's really fitting for them.
Well, that's the thing. Each of the objectives markers really speaks to like the character of each faction. What's important to them?
Yeah.
Yes. Money.
Gold.
Money. Pig. Money. More money and charts. But it's a really nice set of figures if you're getting into Port Royal. obviously, it's a really fun skirmish game. The 2-player starter set that's out has been going great guns. People have been really enjoying how it's come together, and the fact that you can just do these sort of Mordheim-esque long-going campaigns, but have the sort of historical accuracy behind the game that you often get with Firelock's sort of forays into various periods. So it's just really, really nice little compact bijou system that you can play. And then if you want to get into the bigger game, if you want to play Blood and Plunder, then it's a nice stepping stone because everything there is accurate to the game and you can just push on and play in with those. If you've not played anything before and are interested in getting into it, or if you're currently a player of any of the Firelock systems, the Summer of Plunder has kicked off. So this is the 5th annual Summer of Plunder, which is actually run by the community. So these are people who really enjoy all of the Firelock Games stuff and therefore want to play it in a big campaign. And it runs from the 1st of June. So it's already started a couple of weeks in. Finishes on the 2nd of August. 2nd of August. 4th of August?
2nd of August.
Early August.
It says right there.
Does it? It says
1st June, 2nd August.
But I read 4th on their FAQ page, I think. That's why it's stuck in my head. Anyway.
Okay.
There are some things. So, for example, there is a special Drunk Pirate if you're buying stuff from Firelock Games. So if you are just deciding to get started and you and a couple of friends are getting your first bits and pieces, there's this nice little piratey Jack type fella who's coming in there.
Rocking the rum.
Yes. And the actual campaign itself is being hosted over at Blood and Pigment. But there's a ton of stuff in here. So if you've not been before, anything you need to know about Blood and Plunder is here, including build guides, faction guides, and all the rest, videos and written articles. The fellas absolutely adore the game behind it. But when you're getting involved in the Summer of Plunder itself, it's all 3 games. So
I love the image.
Yeah.
It's nailed on.
Who reads rules like Gaston?
Blood and Plunder, Oak and Iron for the naval, and then Port Royal itself. So it explains how it plays. See, I told you I'd seen the 4th somewhere.
All right.
So I'm going to consider that I'm right and you're right. But if you've played before, you'll know what the score is. If you haven't, all the details are in here. Essentially, all you have to do is play the game. Play as many times as you want, play as little as you want, report back. They have a Discord server, and in the Discord server, you'll find that all of the nations are controlled and have their own channels. So you'll be able to get in there, win prizes as the campaign goes on. Shouldn't do that. And the reason you shouldn't do that is because if you've spent 2 or 3 weeks playing for the English, and then you suddenly decide to jump ship to Spanish, you'll know what the commander is doing, because there are commanders and lieutenant commanders for every nation who are
fighting for the Caribbean.
Yeah, but they're making the plans, because when you report your game, you get to report it to anywhere on a big map. And it means you'll either be defending or attacking, and therefore strategies are important, and that's why they don't want people jumping ship, so to speak, and going elsewhere.
What's your favorite color? Black. Razorback.
Yes. So you can come over here, the entry forms on board, and like I say, you can play whatever you want. You can play solo. There are solo rules in Port Royal already, and there's solo rules you can download from Firelock for Blood and Plunder. Oak and Iron is the only game that doesn't have a solo system. But they've also got things like an organized play kit. Totally unnecessary. Some nice stuff in it. If you don't want to buy it, you don't have to buy it, because you can play it all for free, which is my favorite price. And then there's also a whole host of prizes that will be coming throughout the campaign as it progresses, including, there's our map, including bits and pieces like, well, there's your commanders. So every nation has got a commander, but they've got things like weekly prizes that they're going to be doing now, where you can win little sort of token objective sets and stuff. And these are the commanders of each nation will decide one of their players will get them
brilliant.
for whatever reason, and they can't win multiple times. So it gives them a chance that everybody who plays has a chance to win something.
Excellent.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a winner. You don't have to be going, oh, I battered my opponent every time we played them. It might be the battle report you've done, or how you've collaborated, or helped people out, or whatever you know. It's entirely down to the commander for somebody who's made a contribution during the week.
It's more of a mark of honor rather than a mark of winning.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a whole host of things from books to bits and pieces. And you can see there, things like Firelock have dumped like $1,000 worth almost, I think, of prize support in there. And they're not alone. There's a full list of sponsors. In fact, I'll get the full list of sponsors because I'm like that. So Firelock Games, Table War, Things from the Basement, Field Hair, Benderson Little, who does really nice handcrafted terrain, Captain Morrow, Timber and Seal, Stone Temple Studios, not Stone Temple Pilots, although they are great, and the Plunder Den also does great terrain. Good YouTube channel as well. So they've been collecting up bits and pieces, and like I say, the whole idea is to engage the community, to play out across this region. For people who are wondering, if you're playing Port Royal, you do not have to put your results into Jamaica, even though that's where it was. You can put your results wherever you want. And this is the other thing about the fact that there is a controlling entity behind it. You may be going, oh, I really fancy chucking my results into southern tip of Florida or whatever it happens to be. Whereas your commander would be going, well, this week, I think we can actually do real damage if we just suddenly assault
Cuba.
Anywhere, pick one, Jamaica, for want of a better word. We could do enough damage that we can actually take it over and hold it, because there is some FAQs in there that they've changed how some of the results are first of all, when the results are reported and tallied has moved to Monday night to allow the weekend results to come in. But then also, if you're defending, there's a slight stat weight in your honor. That means that it's not exactly a 1-for-1, so that previous years, the areas would flip-flop back and forth if they got close. And once they get close, they would just week by week bounce. So by giving defenders very slight sort of nudge in their behalf, it means that an attacker really has to go for it to take a defended area and then hold it now as for being their faction. So there's a lot in there. There's some videos if you've not been involved before. It's more or less an iteration of the previous year, so it will tell you how the games are played out and what sort of things are going on behind it. But really, it's just a chance for the community to get together and just be excited about playing.
Enjoy playing
pirates. The game. Yes. Some year, obviously, ninjas will come in from the west. Then it'll all go horribly wrong. I look forward to that.
Pirates and ninjas, baby.
Pirates and ninjas. Pirates are all having to turn around and fight together because of the ninja threat.
I've actually been rewatching Westworld. Seeing cowboys and ninjas was fun.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. It's all good
They've
in
set
the hood.
president.
I will say they do have the percentages of people or percentages of players allocated to each of them. Most are in and around the 17 to 20%. So most factions are well attributed. The native levy is only 9%. So there's less people, but the campaign is, it's always this way though, because natives were a harder, more technical play style. And then for a long time, there weren't plastics. It was all metal. So the plastics obviously shunted people towards an easier access point for the European powers. So natives are always slightly underrepresented, but the campaign takes that into account when it comes to divvying up things and how games. So they're not going to get steamrollered. Also, the fact there's less people there means you have a better chance of winning weekly prizes from your
very true.
From your commander.
Oh, if you want to play that hard-edged.
They always punch above their weight because they're very focused, a very focused group of players on the native side, and they tend to be more direct. And then you've got bigger, more expansive European territories who just go, let's just throw results wherever we are. We're all over the place. We've made nary a bump in the road. So nice stuff coming for Port Royal. If you fancy getting into that, and if you're already a player, you really should be playing in any way, shape, or form you want. If you've got the stuff kicking around the house and you haven't found an opponent, try some solo games.
Yeah.
Give it a go and get your reports in. You just need to take a single picture, but you can be as fully battle reported as you want, which I obviously suggest you should be. Maps, plenty of pictures. I want descriptions of what's happening. Don't care about dice rolls. Just tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
So there you go. Right. I think that wraps us up for the news. Have a little swish and come back with a couple of Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
All right then, our first Kickstarter isn't a Kickstarter. It's GameFound campaign.
GameFound, better site. Yeah. So we are looking at a new project from the endlessly iterative and creative folks at Black Site Studios. They are back on GameFound with their new game called We Played God. They clearly listened to us when we said we needed more dinosaur-based games, and we're going to take credit for that. So We Played God is a new solo/cooperative miniatures game where you'll be heading to the island of Eden, whether willingly or not, and you will have to try and survive against deadly dinosaurs that have been unleashed by the silly scientists that have all broken free, a la Jurassic Park. And you will have to try and fight your way through a full full campaign, where you will be looking to sneak, run, hide, and fight your way out of all sorts of terrible situations whilst being hunted by dinosaurs of all sorts of different stripes. Games take about, somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes to play, depending on the sort of intricacy of the scenario and the number of survivors that are involved, and also the types of dinosaurs that you're fighting as well. There are 16 scenarios included in the core rules, which will form the basis of your campaign. And as you go through, your survivors will grow and change and adapt as you play through, taking on the role of things like trainers, security guards, staff, hackers, and all that kind of stuff.
And there is permadeath.
And there is permadeath, yes. And there are also rules for 15 dinosaur types in the mix as well. Although, of course, you can mix and match as you see fit. Now, you can use any miniatures for the game, but Black Site have created their own set of both survivors and dinosaurs for use in this. That are all available as STL files as part of the campaign, so you can get your hands on those.
And you can get physical too.
There you go. I didn't know that, so thank you very much.
I got curious about this one. I gave it a good full look.
There you go. So there is actually a gameplay video online that you can go and watch right now, and they kind of give you a sort of rundown of the sort of basics of play. In the particular demo, they play a couple of survivors, security guard, and a hacker, I think it is, are trying to get the keys for a vehicle so that they can escape and run off the board, whilst they are being hunted by one of the deadly alphas. So every sector of the island of Eden has dinosaurs that roam around it, but within those sectors there is also an alpha, which is normally a big predator like a T-Rex or something, or a Spinosaurus, and that is going to be the big bad that you're going to be facing at some point during your campaigns. Gameplay is all pretty cool, very smooth and easy to play. Characters use a full set of poly dice to represent their skills. Very simple, you sort of roll, and if you hit over 50% on a particular roll, you've probably passed your test. All of the dinosaurs are then governed by the same poly dice system, but they have behavior dice instead. So you'll be rolling to see whether or not, for example, this creature is sort of like like active or inactive, I think is the way they sort of talk about it, or hunting or docile or something like that.
So aggressive or passive is what they use. And it's a two-rule system where first you see what mood it's in, and then because of its mood, you see what it does.
Yes. So what's quite nice is that even if it's passive, it still has an effect on gameplay. So it might roar at you and cause fear and stress and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, and if you take too much stress, heart attack.
Mm-hmm. And as they show in the demo game, they demonstrate the permadeath, as Justin was pointing out, where the unfortunate security guard gets chomped, and that obviously causes some stress for the hacker who's involved. But
chomp, chewy, chomp.
But it looks like Blacksite have really dived in and delivered, again, a really fully fleshed out game in a short space of time. They have some insane designers working for them on the variety of different games that they've created. They seem to just be endlessly hopping from one thing to the next. But if you're interested, if you like the sound of games like Don't Look Back and stuff that they've done in the past, where it's very solo/cooperative focused, I think this could be a really nice sort of entry point for those people who weren't necessarily taken by the horror theme, but like the idea of dinosaurs and sort of like that Jurassic Park
and a cowboy hat.
I can't tell. Yes, looks like a mascot. Yes. When it comes to actually bidding for this, as we were saying, there are sort of digital and, as Justin was pointing out, physical options for you to dive into. There's the core rulebook, all the dinosaurs, all the survivors. There's also a separate supplement called the Seraph Directive, which includes 5 new playable characters, new items and gear, more zones on Eden for you to explore, and a new alpha dinosaur. Somewhat in the design, the feel of Jurassic World, perhaps, for you to consider. But one of the other really nice things about this, and maybe Justin can tell us a little bit more about it as well, is that there's actually sort of like some interactive kind of like meta stuff going on in the background as well.
Yeah, so there's certain parts of your map that you're going to be fit to interact with, which will then give you a code for your scenario. And they have a website called weplayedgod.com. And so if you go there, it loads up like an old school looking terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you punch in your code. So the one they used in-game, which is actually active, was 988. And then that gives you a little thing here where if you click on the actual message, Jerry, it brings up like a little email. So you get a little bit of narrative, but also a random thing happening in your scenario. So in this one, a dinosaur has damaged one of the vehicles that you're trying to get and get out the way. If you haven't discovered the vehicle yet, it'll like discount one and give you a bonus roll to actually finding which vehicle you need to refuel, get the keys into, and get gone in. So really cool. I quite like that, especially just it gives that really nice like vibe of just being in there, interacting that little bit more. Yeah. To me, that's a really non-invasive way for technology to like interact with your game.
Very true. Yeah. I also like that they've said that even if you don't have the ability to sort of load up that website or whatever, it'll also be available as PDFs. So you'll be able to just reference digital documents. But I quite like the idea of one of your characters having their phone out and scrolling through and finding the information and bringing it up on the email and all that kind of thing. It's a really nice touch.
Yeah, you're on like their intranet.
Yes. Yeah. It's very cool. There you go. This is actually another good point. So I did mention that they obviously have all of the survivors and all the dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. But they've done, as it's Blacksite, they've done loads of terrain for this as well. So there's 3D printable terrain and that kind of thing as well. But they've also done more of their HDF, MDF style stuff at the same time. So if you want to build a cool
T-Rex and a cowboy hat.
And the little airport shuttle bus.
Yes. Yeah. Not quite as safe as those Jeeps, although they didn't really help the survivors anyway, did they?
What is this health and safety you speak of? I've never heard of Voucher.
That's why they're all behind bars and cages and stuff.
Yeah, totally safe.
Yeah. But what's quite nice about this as well is that, yes, you have the 16 scenarios to play through, you have the campaign that you can dive into and all that kind of thing. Because of the idea of permadeath in there, and you've got this option for like, well, crap, my characters didn't survive this run through, but now if we go back, maybe this character will survive and carry through into the next scenario and all that kind of stuff. You can come back and replay this multiple times, but also it's really expandable because they can just add new scenarios, new survivors, new dinosaur types, new areas of Eden that haven't been involved. Maybe you go to Island B, Eden Mark II, and you look at the research facilities over there and that kind of stuff. The dinosaurs look so good. Oh my God. I love dinosaurs. Ankylosaur, best dinosaur. There we go.
I was about to say that. We knew it was coming, Ben. We knew it was coming.
There's no Iguanodon, though, as far as I could tell. But
not unlocked, not yet. Give it time.
But it is miniatures agnostic, so if you can find the miniature, you can play it.
You can do, yeah. So if you remember that indie from a couple of weeks ago that we looked at that had dinosaur miniatures and stuff,
yes,
maybe go and have a look at that. Grab some dinos from there and use it for this. And obviously plenty of survivors out there from different companies like Crooked Dice and all sorts. So,
and with all the different companies making different types of terrain, so you could make really interesting game boards.
Yeah. Also a very good opportunity to go and raid your local pet store and get all of their aquarium terrain.
Yeah.
So yeah, you going to back this one then, Justin?
It's tempting, but there are other things in the works. Myself, John, and Shay are all talking about getting into airsoft, and to start up in that costs a little bit of money.
So you're not going to be going to shoot real dinosaurs with your airsoft guns, yeah?
That would seem counterproductive.
Clever girl.
Shocking, absolutely shocking stuff. Yeah, it does look absolutely superb. Already funded.
Well funded. 10 times funded.
And a month left to run on it, 28 days. So bags of time to get in there if you fancy doing some Jurassic Park-style raiding. And you could recreate a better version of what the sequel should have been if they hadn't made those terrible ones. Just saying. It's not missing out on anything.
I just remember the old cartoon.
I didn't realize they did a Jurassic Park cartoon.
There was a cartoon?
Pretty sure. All right, maybe my brain's misfiring, but I'm pretty damn sure there was a cartoon.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Boom.
I think I probably would have been too old for cartoons at that stage.
Are you ever too old for cartoons?
I am when they're shit. It's very easy to be too old at that point. Anyway, we have another campaign to take a look at. This one's much smaller, coming via the medium of Red Band.
Love their stuff.
Space fantasy frogmen. Slan. To those of you of an age. Look, red painted cocktail sticks pushed into balls of stuff. The nice thing about modern day is that you can just get polystyrene balls. In the old days, you had to shave polystyrene down. This makes life much easier to push your cocktail sticks into something. Right. Anyway, it's a very short campaign. It's already funded because the funding goal was relatively low, but it contains a rake of different frogmen, serpent warriors, and lizards in a variety of poses. If you were to play a game like one-page rules, these are nailed on. If you were to want to take an alternative swing at 40k, I'm not saying that those are Dark Reapers, but imagine your entire Eldar army is space lizards.
Oh my god. I've just realized what the Leaper is. Just a war walker. Oh my god.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you not paying attention, 007?
No.
Oh, that's for you. You're young. Yeah. So interesting little set of things. We've got the Serpent Warriors mounted on their lizards. I mean, no reason why they can't be jetbikes.
Yeah.
Look at those lizards. They look like they bound at a pace.
Yeah, the spheres do look to be shiny.
Or if you want to use them as Exodites, it makes slightly more sense. Someday they will introduce rules for the old Exodites. Yes, the Frogman Leaper is a Warwalker. So you two can have your slan, explaining to everybody in no uncertain terms that they are in charge of this universe, and everybody else should just back off, or they'll get both barrels.
Sod you, Necrons.
Yes. Like I say, the warriors there, I suppose they don't necessarily have to be Dark Reapers, but they certainly give me that vibe to it. They could potentially be, or the Forge World ones, their version
Spectres.
of the Spectres.
Yeah. Shadow Spectres. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right. But it's just a really fantastic set of old school style sculpts in a very different way. We don't see enough space frogs as far as I'm concerned. Die Hard do a really nice range. Yeah. Obviously, if you fancy adding in some froggies and serpents to that, you could expand this immensely. But it does have that classic Rogue Trader vibe where musicians and standard bearers were the order of the day. I think most of that comes off the back of David Lynch's Dune. Because they did have those drums that they give to the squats. Had them, the Space Dwarves had the triangular upside down drums. And they just come screaming out of Dune. And I think at that point they just went, you know what, we need musician and standards for everybody. So good to see. But you too can lay your hands on a small squad of things. Like I say, if you're not playing 40k, if you are playing Grimdark Future, then these will slot in there very nicely. If you plan on doing something a bit more elaborate, I would love to find out what the plans are on that one. But it's just a nice set of weird, wacky, froggy sci-fi.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what they would look like if someone did paint them up in like a grimdarky style.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. I much prefer the dark, the classic.
Yeah.
1980s, burn your eyeballs out.
Yeah. With what Die Hard are doing, and obviously the Rocknauts from that company.
Rocknauts.
You have lots of like old hammery, rogue tradery stuff. Those guys, yes. Yes. You've got loads of stuff now that you could be doing for like old school rogue tradery style games. And I think we need to see more of it. Hopefully Red Guard do more of this. Because obviously they've done quite a lot for fantasy now. So a bit more sci-fi stuff or sci-fi coded stuff is great. So
one of the things I'm looking at them for novelty value is obviously Dead Zone's probably the best small scale skirmish game out there. You don't need many figures for it. And the Matsudan have their own melee version of the Cypher robots. So having these for my Space Samurai as being their version of the Cyphers, getting up close and bopping people with massive jade boppy weapons, I think would be hilarious. Back up my my Samurai Space Sumo Lizards with a whole bunch of Aztec robotics. So hopefully that one gets unlocked, and we will see at some point in the future. I imagine the Beastmaster as well. But yeah, a really nice, super simple little set of stuff with that 80s aesthetic, 80s into 90s, I suppose. And just space frogs. We don't see enough space frogs, not since they absolutely mullered the universe and crashed the polar gates. That didn't go well for them, did it? That didn't go well for anybody. But yeah, it's just a really nice little simple set of stuff coming from Redbard, already funded, and there is 12 days left.
12 days left.
Yes.
Okay.
So
hurry up, folks.
You've got time to get in there if you fancy it. Get your hands on some frogs in space.
Frogs in space.
Better than pigs in space.
But they will fly, so wishes confirmed.
That's true. They're brightly coloured, so you know they're poisonous. Don't eat them. Onwards and downwards, I feel. We'll be back next week for more of the same. But if that's too long, come and join us on Sunday morning, over on Tabletop with Ben, me, and John. We're going to be talking random balls all day. If you're not already a member of the Cult of Games, you can join us for a 30-day trial. Have a nosy around. It's free. Kick the tires. See what's happening. And we'll see you then. Otherwise, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.